The sound of rain against the glass echoed through the CEO's office as Ava stood trembling, her heart pounding louder than the storm outside. She had come to share the happiest news of her life, a truth she believed would bring joy. Instead, she found herself staring at a stranger wearing the face of the man she once loved. Adrian Cole, the millionaire CEO everyone admired, stood behind his desk with a look of distant irritation. His perfectly tailored suit reflected his success, but his eyes had lost their warmth. "Ava, I can't do this anymore," he said coldly. The words sliced through the air like a blade. "You deserve someone simple. I'm marrying Serena next month." Ava blinked, unable to process his words. Serena, the daughter of a wealthy investor, the kind of woman society adored. She tried to speak, to tell him about the life growing inside her, but her throat closed up. Adrian turned away, already reaching for his phone, dismissing her like a business meeting that had run overtime. Tears blurred her vision, but she refused to let them fall. Pride was all she had left. As she walked out into the pouring rain, she whispered softly to her unborn child, "He chose his world. Now I'll build ours." She didn't know how. But she would survive, not for herself, but for the tiny heartbeat that gave her a reason to fight. Ava's days turned into a blur of exhaustion and silent determination. She worked double shifts at a small design studio, often skipping meals just to make rent. Her body ached, her mind barely rested, but every night when she placed a trembling hand on her growing belly, she felt a spark of strength that refused to die. The nights were the hardest. When memories of Adrian's laughter haunted her like a ghost she could not chase away. Yet even in her loneliest moments, she found comfort in imagining her child's face, a reminder that something beautiful had come from something broken. Months passed, and when the day came, she gave birth to twin girls. Pure, perfect reflections of love she thought was gone forever. Their cries filled the hospital room, echoing through her heart like music. She named them Emma and Elara, promising them both a life built on warmth and honesty, not the coldness of wealth. Every giggle, every tiny hand wrapped around her finger gave her a reason to breathe again. But beneath her courage lingered a quiet fear, one she never said aloud. Because somewhere, deep in the towering glass buildings of the city, Adrian was living his dream life, completely unaware of the two little souls who carried his eyes. 5 years later, Ava's life looked nothing like the fragile woman who once cried in the rain. Her small design studio had grown into a thriving local brand, known for creativity and resilience, two qualities her daughters had unknowingly taught her. Emma and Elara were bright, curious, and full of laughter that could melt even the coldest heart. They were her universe, the reason she woke up every morning and fought through every obstacle. Yet the universe had its own way of testing hearts. One crisp autumn morning, Ava received an invitation to a corporate charity gala, a collaboration opportunity that could finally take her business nationwide. She hesitated, then accepted, unaware that destiny had already circled that night on its calendar. The grand hall sparkled with gold light, filled with the scent of wealth and power, and then she saw him, Adrian, standing tall beside his glamorous wife, surrounded by reporters and investors. The same man who had broken her spirit now looked older, sharper, but there was something hollow behind his smile. Their eyes met, only for a second, yet it felt like time cracked open. He froze, as if he'd seen a ghost wearing a red dress, the color of every memory he tried to bury. Ava looked away, heart pounding, unaware that her past had just begun chasing her again. Adrian's confidence wavered for the first time in years. He had faced ruthless board meetings, hostile investors, and corporate wars, yet nothing shook him like seeing Ava again. She looked radiant, not with wealth, but with peace. There was a light in her eyes that success could never buy, and for a fleeting moment he hated himself for noticing. He tried to focus on the event, but his mind kept drifting back to her. Every laugh she shared, every graceful move she made while presenting her work reminded him of what he'd lost. When the event ended, he followed her outside, the night air cool and heavy with unspoken words. "Ava," he called softly. She turned, her expression unreadable. "Adrian." His name on her lips felt like a wound reopening. "I never expected to see you again," he said. "I didn't think you'd want to," she replied, voice steady. He hesitated, studying her face, the strength, the calm, the quiet defiance. "You look happy." "I am," she said simply, then started to walk away. But fate wasn't done. Just as she reached her car, two small voices shouted, "Mommy!" Emma and Alara ran toward her, identical in their bright dresses, eyes wide and innocent. Adrian froze, breath catching. They had his eyes. His world tilted as the truth struck him like thunder. For a moment, the world stood still. The sounds of traffic, laughter, and music faded into silence as Adrian's gaze locked on the two little girls now clinging to Ava's hands. His chest tightened. It felt as if every breath had turned to glass inside him. Emma and Alara, the names he didn't yet know, looked up at him with the same brown eyes that once stared at him through Ava's tears. It was as if the universe had painted his past into two small masterpieces of innocence. "You have children?" he finally managed to ask, voice trembling despite his effort to sound composed. Ava's expression didn't change. She only nodded. "Yes, they're my world." Her tone carried a quiet finality, one that didn't invite questions. But he couldn't stop himself. "Ava, are they—" "Don't," she interrupted softly, her voice breaking just slightly. "It doesn't matter anymore. You made your choice." Her words hit harder than any accusation. Guilt rippled through him, slow and suffocating. He wanted to say something, anything, but no apology could bridge the years he had missed. Before he could speak again, one of the girls tugged Ava's dress and whispered, "Mommy, is that man okay?" He looked sad. Ava knelt beside them, forcing a smile. "He'll be fine, sweetheart." She took their hands and walked away, leaving Adrian frozen under the glow of city lights, realizing for the first time what real loss felt like. Adrian couldn't sleep that night. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the twins' faces, his daughters, though he had no right to call them that. The realization gnawed at him like a wound that would never heal. He wandered through his mansion, the silence deafening. The walls were covered with awards, photos, and expensive art, yet everything felt hollow. Serena, his wife, was rarely home anymore. Their marriage had become another business contract, polished on the surface, broken underneath. He thought about Ava, about the strength in her voice, the way she had built a life without him. Regret filled every corner of his heart, heavy and unforgiving. The next day, he drove to the small neighborhood where Ava's studio stood. Through the glass window he saw her laughing with clients, her daughters drawing beside her desk. The sight was both beautiful and painful. A world that should have been his, now thriving without him. He didn't enter. He knew he didn't deserve to. Instead, he wrote a letter and slipped it under her door. In it, he didn't ask for forgiveness. He only thanked her for raising what he had abandoned. As he walked away, the wind carried her laughter across the street. For the first time in years, Adrian smiled through tears, realizing karma had already done its work, by showing him what love truly meant and what losing it forever really cost.